Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Memory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our preseason 2014 NFL Draft rankings. We're looking at the running back position. That's running backs as well as fullbacks. It's never too early to take a look at the top prospects of the 2014 draft. So let's start this video off by ranking our top senior running back prospects. DAndre Archer out of Kent State enters the 2013 season as my #1 rated senior running back. This is a guy that has great burst, above average quickness, and is a very underrated inside runner. Now, as far as a receiver out of the backfield, I think he has decent hands. Yes, you can throw him screen passes, those bubble screens, those flare routes, he can catch those, but expecting him to go down the field and make big plays in a passing game, I don't think that's his game. And he tends to overextend when he's running, and that causes a running back to lose balance, which could cause him then to get toppled over, stopped in his tracks, and not break a lot of tackles. But when you look at Archer's skill set as a whole, you have to like what you see. Don't look at his size and say, oh, he's only a certain style of runner. This guy can be your feature back, can also help you out as a kickoff returner as well as a punt returner. I'm a big fan of Tim Flanders out of Sam Houston State, 5'9", 210 pounds. This is a guy that's extremely shifty, shows great balance. You don't topple him over, you just bump him to the side, and he has great burst and acceleration. Now, one of his knocks is that his legs tend to die on contact. What that means is it takes him a while to recharge those legs, to get those legs going to break tackles. That could cause you to get stopped at the next level, near or at the line of scrimmage. So I think that's one thing he has to improve on, his leg drop. But this is a guy that compares eerily similar to a guy in Ahmad Bradshaw that used to play for the New York Giants. Keep an eye on Marion Grice out of Arizona State. Here's a guy that's an excellent receiver out of the backfield, great acceleration, and has above average vision. Now, he has to run with better pad level, and now he moves into the primary role, which means he's going to be the primary ball carrier. We're going to see if he can hold up for 11 to 12 to 13 games for the Sun Devils. But if you want to compare what he brings to the table to another player, let's say at the next level, look at Ricky Waters. I'm not saying he's going to be Ricky Waters, but when you look at what Ricky Waters brought to the table, he's a guy that you could line up as a wide receiver and send him deep down the field. You could do the same thing with Grice. That's why, in my opinion, his arrow is shooting up, and I'm thinking he's poised for a big breakout season as a senior. Another intriguing running back prospect to keep an eye on this season is Damian Williams out of Oklahoma at 5'11", 200 pounds. This guy definitely shows the breakaway ability. Routinely ripped off long runs for the Sooners last season and has solid pick, slide, accelerate type of skills. And when you're looking for an example of a pick, slide, then accelerate type of runner, you look at how Marshall Faulk was able to run the football, a guy that showed great patience, and that's what Damian Williams shows. Once he sees the lane, he can burst through it and has the speed to pull away. Now, he has those nagging injuries, and you hope he has overcome them this offseason, but that's something that's going to be a question in the mind of NFL scouts. He also has to run with better pad level, tends to run upright, and that can cause you to get knocked off balance and take a lot of unnecessary shots in the chest. But overall, I like his skill set. That's why I've rated him as my 4th senior running back going into the 2013 season. Alfred Blue was well on his way to a breakout campaign for the Tigers last year before the injury, and that's one of his knocks. He's going to be coming off an injury. We don't know how well he's going to be at the start of the season. He tends to run upright. That's another knock for him. But overall, his skill set, this guy has very good vision and no wasted movements when he's running the football. So every move he makes is a move downfield, and that's what you want out that running back position. Also has very underrated speed. So overall, I like what he brings to the table, and that's why I have him rated 5th on my senior running back list. Now, here's some of the other senior running back prospects that I want you to keep an eye on heading into the 2013 season. And from number 6 through 20, there's a lot of solid and quality guys still on this list. And I'm more impressed with what's going on at the mid-major FBS level and at the FCS level this year with the running back position. Antonio Andrews out of Western Kentucky, Shakir Barrell out of Indiana State, David Fluellen out of Toledo. You also look at Brendan Oliver out of Buffalo, Andrew Pierce out of Delaware. This guy has been a starter since his true freshman season for the Blue Hens. Zerline Tipton out of Central Michigan. Keep an eye on him. I think he is a very underrated running back. And there's also some guys at the major FBS level that you want to keep an eye on that should have some outstanding breakout senior seasons, like Carlos Hyde from Ohio State, Chris Nwoke out of Colorado State, and Trey Watts, a do-it-all type of player out of Tulsa. DeAndre Thomas out of Oregon, aka the Black Mamba, enters my preseason list as the #1 rated junior running back. This guy has blazing speed and is a very underrated inside runner and has that elite level vision. I've compared his vision to a hammerhead shark. This guy is very versatile. You can utilize him as a returner, both on kickoffs and as a punt returner. But the only knocks on him is that I think he may have maxed out his frame. I don't think he can add any more weight to what he already has on his body. So I think you're going to get a guy that's 5'9", 180 pounds, and that's about it. And his pass protection skills, I think, need a little work. That's the only knocks I have on a guy that should be one of the top players taken in next year's draft. James Wilder Jr. out of Florida State, 6'2", 220 pounds, is a fun player to scout and a fun player to watch. He's also a powerful runner that is an above-average receiver out of the backfield. This is a guy that takes no prisoners when he's running the football and shows good footwork for a guy his size and is a very good pass blocker as well. But the knocks on him is that he takes on too many tacklers. That could cause you to get nicked up at the next level. You have to learn when and when not to take a hit. And can he carry the load? He hasn't been a full-time starter at Florida, so you can look at that both ways. One, you can look at it as, well, he doesn't have a lot of carries under his belt. And two, he's also not as good as a guy that's been starting in front of him. I tend to go right down the middle. This is a guy that has to earn his keep as a starter and has to prove that he can carry the load. But when you look at his skill set, his raw ability, there's a lot to like about James Wilder Jr. KaDeem Carey out of Arizona was the nation's leading rusher last year with over 1,900 yards. That's getting it done from the running back position. I don't care who you are and where you play. 5'10", 200-pound junior, excellent acceleration, good body lean. Love the way he runs with the football and was very productive. Now, he struggles to create if the lane isn't there. That could lead one to question whether or not he has the necessary vision to be successful, or was his 1,900 yards a product of the offensive attack. He also lacks the run power that is necessary to break tackles at that next level. A guy that could position himself as a situational runner if he doesn't improve in that aspect. But overall, love what he brings to the table, love the production, and I like that acceleration that he runs with that allows him to break off those long runs and get to 1,900. So I think KaDeem Carey definitely has a spot on this list and also has a spot on Sundays with an NFL franchise. Lake Seastrunk out of Baylor definitely turned it on in the latter part of last year when he got more carries and was able to put up some big-time numbers versus big-time opponents. Compact build, which means he has an excellent balance, which also means you don't knock him over, you just bump him to the side. And when I talk about elite level speed, you look at Lake Seastrunk and you look at a guy like Napoleon Kaufman that played with the Oakland Raiders, and that's who I think Seastrunk favorably compares to, is a guy like Kaufman. Now, some of his knocks are the fact that I think he has average vision, not bad vision, but just average, just decent running back vision. Doesn't have that elite level vision like a DeAndre Thomas, and he also doesn't break a lot of tackles. So a lot of times you see the first defender bring him down, and that's something that's going to have to improve on this year if he wants to make the jump into the elite category of running backs. Now, here are some sleeper running back prospects that you want to keep an eye on this season. At #1, Terence Coples out of the Cumberlands, 5'11", 220 pounds. He's been a joy to watch over the last couple of seasons. He fell 9 yards short of 2,000 last year. Plays in the option offense, but you can't knock him for that. He has every last attribute that you want out of the running back position. He runs with good interior power. He also is very shifty to make one miss and has good enough speed to take it the distance. So everything that you want out of a back, Cope definitely has that. You also can't knock him for his level of competition because he's dominating that level. That's what you want to see from a guy coming from a smaller program. So keep an eye on Cope moving forward in 2013. And keep a close eye on Franklin Cote out of Bloomsburg. This is another very impressive running back at the Division II level. And entering his senior season, he has already rushed for over 2,000 yards twice in his career and scored over 50 touchdowns, getting the job done, dominating the level of competition. And he's a pro-style running back playing in a pro-style system. Like what he brings to the table, and definitely looking forward to him building on his success in 2013 as well. Jamaal Barry out of Murray State, a former Ohio State Buckeye, still has that elite level quickness and shiftiness to make one miss. I watched the game versus Tennessee State, where Tennessee State had to win that game in order to win the Ohio Valley Conference. They couldn't stop Barry all day long. This is a guy that has the return ability, can catch the football out of the backfield. One of his knocks, in my opinion, is that he lacks the patience necessary to utilize his skill sets to their full potential. This is a guy that's too quick for his own good, and a lot of times you see him get caught up in his own moves and fall down or get brought down by one defender. So if he can develop the patience this year in 2013, his skill sets, his already talented skill sets, will be enhanced, and you'll see better production coming from the Murray State running back. Also, keep an eye on Josh Harris out of Wake Forest, 5'11", 210 pounds. He burst onto the scene as a freshman in 2010, had a very good 2011 campaign, but the knock on him has always been his inability to stay healthy. But if he's 100% and he's out there for Wake Forest for all 12 to 13 games, this guy has a lot of LaShawn McCoy-like ability, so he has to stay healthy in order to fly up the draft boards, in my opinion. Now, here are some players of intrigue that I want you to keep an eye on. You look at Dillon Baxter out of Baker University, down at the NAIA level, was a former highly touted recruit that landed at USC, played as a true freshman, transferred down to a couple of schools, ended up at Baker, and if he can put together a full season with some impressive numbers, this is a guy that you can see fly up draft boards. Jeremy Hill out of LSU is another one that you want to keep an eye on. He's listed as a sophomore, but remember, he is 3 years removed from his high school graduating class. Prior to last season, he sat out a year, so that technically makes him eligible for the NFL draft if he chooses to leave. So this is another guy with good all-around game, and we know how LSU loves to rotate backs. He may feel as though he's ready and may come out early, so definitely keep an eye on Jeremy Hill's progress this season. Michael Dyer, formerly of Auburn, formerly of Arkansas State, and now currently at Arkansas Baptist, where he's just attending classes and not playing ball. Aside from the off-the-field issues that he will have to answer for the NFL scouts, that's concern number one. Concern number two for me is the inactivity of not playing ball last season. The last time we saw Dyer play was in 2011, so we have to see, does he still have it? Because when he's on the field at his best, he's one of the best in the country, and a year off can do a running back a lot of damage. So that's something that he's going to have to prove once he gets in front of those NFL scouts and personnel decision makers. Trey Millard out of Oklahoma enters the 2013 season as my #1 rated fullback in the country. I love what he brings to the table from that position. He can catch the football very well, devastating blocker, and a very underrated running back. I honestly think he can start on many teams across the country as their #1 back. So when you look for a fullback in this day and age in the National Football League, then you look for a guy with the skill set of a Trey Millard out of Oklahoma. J.C. Copeland out of LSU is my 2nd rated fullback, and I love the way this guy blocks. He's a devastating blocker. There's a reason why LSU is able to rotate 4 running backs at any given time, and all of them are able to have success. They got a guy like Copeland leading the way, and they also like to throw him a bone or two and show some solid and very underrated running skills as well, and does have the soft hands to catch those dump-off passes out in the flats. Now here's my overall preseason rankings for the running backs heading into the 2013 season, and that's a combination of senior and junior prospects. You look at DeAnthony Thomas, to me clearly is the #1 back in the country regardless of size. I love what he brings to the table. James Wilder as my #2 back. I think this guy has NFL type game already, so I'm interested to see how well he can do as the featured ball carrier for the Seminoles. You also look at Tim Flanders making my list along with Terence Coples and Franklin Cote. 3 small college running backs making my top 10. That shows the talent there is across this country. No matter where you play, guys put up numbers. They make my list because they definitely have the talent. And also keep an eye on Alfred Blue out of LSU as well as Marion Grice out of Arizona State. 2 sleeper guys, in my opinion, that could catapult up the list if they have a 2013 season just like they did in 2012.